Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be exploring something pretty incredible.
Oh, yeah.
The advantages of a bilingual brain.
All right.
And we'll be kind of looking at this from all angles.
Okay.
We're going to be diving into research, expert opinions,
Yeah.
and some practical advice, all focused on how bilingualism can actually change the way you think and learn.
You know what's so fascinating about this topic is that we're not just talking about textbook knowledge.
Right.
These benefits can have a real impact on your daily life.
Absolutely.
Whether you're a student aiming for those top grades,
Yeah.
a professional looking for an edge, or just somebody who wants to keep their mind sharp.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's more common than you might think.
Yeah.
One of our sources, The Benefits of Being Bilingual, points out that over half the world's population speaks more than one language.
Wow.
But let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
Did you know that babies can be bilingual even before they're born?
It's true.
What?
The power of the bilingual brain talks about studies where newborns of bilingual mothers reacted differently to various languages.
Oh, wow.
A baby's brain is already wired for language in the womb,
Really?
absorbing the sounds and rhythms of their mother's voice. So if a mother speaks two languages, the baby is exposed to both from day one.
That's mind-blowing.
It is.
So they're getting a head start on language learning before they even enter the world.
Exactly.
And speaking of head starts,
Yeah.
Advantages of a Bilingual Brain mentions how children under 8 have this incredible ability to learn languages almost effortlessly. What makes their brains so special?
Well, their ear and speech muscles are super flexible at that age,
Okay.
allowing them to pick up those subtle sound differences between languages. They
Yeah.
don't need to consciously study grammar rules like adults do.
Right.
Instead, they just absorb the language naturally through exposure and interaction.
It's like their brains are designed for it.
They are.
But what about those of us who weren't lucky enough to grow up bilingual?
Yeah.
Is it too late to benefit?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Even learning a new language as an adult provides cognitive benefits.
Okay.
The power of the bilingual brain highlights improvements in attention and concentration, for example.
Right.
Constantly switching between languages gives the brain a workout, strengthening those areas.
So it's like a mental gym for our brain.
Exactly.
And what about this idea of cognitive flexibility?
Mm-hmm.
Advantages of a bilingual brain talks about how bilingual children excel at focusing and adapting because of the competition between languages in their brains.
That's right.
So how does that work?
Imagine your brain as a control center that's
Okay.
managing multiple tasks.
Okay.
Bilingualism essentially gives this control center a boost.
Okay.
It has to constantly switch between languages,
Right.
filter information, and
Yeah.
make decisions,
Huh?
leading to enhanced planning, problem solving, and multitasking skills.
So that's how it works inside the brain.
Right.
But what does this actually look like in the real world?
Well, advantages of a bilingual brain cites a study where bilingual children were better at sorting objects by multiple characteristics.
Okay.
This demonstrates their enhanced problem-solving skills,
Mm-hmm.
which can then translate to everyday tasks.
Okay.
Think about remembering directions,
Right.
focusing during a lecture,
Yeah.
or even managing your schedule efficiently.
Okay. Those are skills we could all use no matter what stage of life we're in.
For sure.
This is starting to feel like having a secret weapon.
Now here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Advantages of a bilingual brain also discusses research indicating that bilingualism might actually delay the onset of Alzheimer's disease by an average of 4 years.
Wait, 4 years?
Yeah,
That's incredible.
it's amazing.
How is that even possible?
Well, it's thought to be due to this cognitive reserve that bilingualism builds.
Okay.
Imagine it like a backup generator for your brain.
Okay.
Even if some neural pathways are affected by Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
the bilingual brain has alternative routes and stronger connections, allowing it to function better for longer.
So it's like having extra resilience built into your brain.
Yes.
But I know some parents might be worried that exposing their child to 2 languages could be confusing or even harmful.
Right.
Is there any truth to that?
Not at all.
Okay.
Advantages of a bilingual brain directly addresses this very common myth.
Okay.
Children's brains are amazingly adaptable.
Yeah.
They can separate and manage multiple languages
Mhm.
without any negative impact on their native language development.
Really?
In fact, research suggests that bilingualism can actually enhance a child's cognitive flexibility even further.
So it's not just about language acquisition.
No.
It's about building a stronger, more adaptable brain overall.
Absolutely.
Now, I remember reading this captivating anecdote in The Power of the Bilingual Brain about a little girl who, after just a few months of learning French, cracked a joke in the language.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing.
That perfectly illustrates how quickly language can become a tool for playfulness and expression.
Right.
It's that aha moment
Yeah.
where it clicks and goes beyond just textbook learning.
Yeah. And it's inspiring, especially for those of us who might be hesitant to try a new language as adults.
Yeah,
We've got to remember those aha moments are out there waiting for us too.
absolutely.
Now, the benefits of being bilingual highlights something I find fascinating.
Okay.
The idea that bilingual individuals might access different memories or even react differently emotionally depending on which language they're using.
That's right.
That-
It highlights how interconnected language, memory, and emotion truly are.
Yeah.
It's not just about storing different vocabulary. It's about how those languages are woven into our experiences and how we perceive the world.
It makes you wonder if someone's looking to connect more deeply with their bilingual partner, maybe learning a few key phrases in their native language could be a powerful way to bridge that gap.
That's a great point.
So we've seen that there are huge benefits to learning multiple languages.
Yes.
But is there a limit to how many your brains can handle?
Well, the benefits of being bilingual mentions that research hasn't actually found a limit.
Wow.
The human brain has an incredible capacity for language learning far beyond anything we see in artificial intelligence.
That's amazing. It really shows the potential of the human mind.
It does.
But it also makes you wonder, if we're capable of learning so many languages, what other languages might our brains be processing? The benefits of being bilingual touches on this, asking if things like computer code, math, or music could also be considered languages.
It's a thought-provoking question.
It is.
If we broaden the definition of language beyond spoken or written communication,
Yeah.
we start to see these systems of symbols everywhere.
Interesting.
These languages can shape how we think and understand the world just as much as spoken languages do.
So are we saying that a programmer fluent in multiple coding languages could be considered multilingual in the same way as someone who speaks multiple spoken languages?
Precisely.
And that opens up a whole new perspective on how diverse language can be and how it shapes our understanding of the world.
Yeah.
This is really making me rethink what it means to be fluent. But before we go further down that rabbit hole, let's take a pause here.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part, from babies in the womb to the potential limits of the human brain.
Yeah.
But don't worry, we'll be back soon with part 2, where we'll explore even more fascinating aspects of the bilingual brain.
Sounds good. Welcome back to the deep dive.
We're continuing our exploration of the bilingual brain, and I'm still amazed by how much power we have, like, literally within our minds.
It's true. We've seen how it impacts development learning, even protects against cognitive decline. But let's shift gears a bit and get practical.
Okay?
How can we actually use this knowledge to improve our everyday lives?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Well, we've established that the bilingual brain is incredibly flexible, constantly juggling languages and thoughts. We can leverage that in a lot of ways. Remember how we talked about bilingual children excelling at tasks requiring cognitive flexibility?
Right, like switching between tasks or seeing things from multiple perspectives.
Exactly. As adults, we can cultivate that same flexibility by challenging ourselves mentally.
Okay.
Step outside your comfort zones, learn new skills, explore unfamiliar topics.
So instead of like my usual routine, I should try something totally new.
Yes.
Like I've always wanted to learn how to play the piano.
Yeah.
Could that help?
Absolutely. It's like physical exercise, but for your brain.
Okay.
The key is keeping your mind active and engaged. Instead of that same crossword puzzle every day.
Yeah.
Maybe try learning a new language or even just reading about a subject you know nothing about.
So embrace the struggle.
Yes.
It's not about instant expertise,
right.
but about the process of challenging your brain and making it work.
Precisely. That struggle builds mental muscle, making your brain more adaptable. And this can have huge implications for those of us in the working world.
Okay, yeah. A lot of our listeners are professionals.
Right.
How can understanding the bilingual brain help them succeed in their careers?
Think about the skills that are valued in today's workplace problem-solving, critical thinking, communication, adaptability. These are all strengths that bilingual individuals tend to develop navigating multiple languages and cultural perspectives.
So it's not just about speaking another language, but having a more nuanced and adaptable approach to the world.
Exactly.
So that makes
exactly. And that's a huge asset in any profession.
Right.
It could help you understand different perspectives during a negotiation or communicate more effectively with a diverse team.
That's a great point. It's like bilingualism gives you this like extra layer of understanding.
Yes. And remember, These benefits apply even if you're not directly using your second language at work.
Okay.
The cognitive flexibility you've developed will benefit you no matter what you do.
Now, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
bilingualism's potential to protect against age-related cognitive decline,
Mm-hmm.
specifically Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
It's a big topic, but what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, first, it's crucial to understand that bilingualism isn't a cure for Alzheimer's.
Okay.
It's a very complex disease.
Mm-hmm.
However, research consistently shows that bilingual individuals experience the onset of symptoms later than monolingual individuals.
And that delay can be significant, right? We're talking years.
Yes, about 4 years on average.
Wow.
And while that may not sound like a lot, it can make a huge difference in terms of quality of life and maintaining independence.
Absolutely, every year counts. But how does bilingualism actually protect the brain?
One leading theory is that it builds something called cognitive reserve.
Okay.
Think of it as a buffer against the damage caused by Alzheimer's.
So like a backup system for the brain.
That's a great way to put it. By constantly switching between languages,
Mm-hmm.
managing multiple systems of thought,
Right.
we strengthen those neural connections, making the brain more resilient to damage.
So it's like building a stronger foundation for your cognitive health, so that even if challenges arise, you're better equipped to handle them.
Exactly. And this highlights the importance of lifelong learning,
Yeah.
of keeping our minds engaged and active as we age. It's never too late to start reaping the cognitive benefits of bilingualism.
That's so reassuring.
Yeah.
So whether you're a student or working professional or enjoying your retirement, learning a new language could be one of the best things you can do for your brain.
I couldn't agree more. And remember, it's not just about memorizing vocabulary and grammar.
Right.
It's about immersing yourself in a new culture, exploring new ways of thinking and communicating, and expanding your horizons.
It's about personal growth exploration and enrichment.
Yes,
So much more than just like the mechanic of language.
absolutely.
But we've talked a lot about the cognitive side of things.
Right.
What about the emotional and social aspects of bilingualism?
That's a wonderful question and something that's often overlooked.
Yeah.
Language is deeply intertwined with our emotions, our relationships, and our sense of self.
Right. It's not just about how we think, but also how we feel and connect with others.
Exactly. Recall our discussion about how bilingual individuals might access different memories or react differently emotionally depending on the language they're using.
Yes. It was like certain memories or emotions were more strongly linked to one language over another.
That's just the beginning. There's a whole field of research dedicated to exploring the emotional and social dimensions of bilingualism.
That's fascinating. What are some of the key findings?
For instance, some researchers believe that bilingual individuals might develop a greater sense of empathy due to their experience navigating multiple cultural perspectives.
That makes sense. If you're constantly switching between different ways of thinking and communicating, you're likely to be more attuned to the nuances of human interaction.
Precisely. And that empathy can be invaluable in building relationships, resolving conflicts, and navigating complex social situations.
It's like having a superpower for social intelligence.
You could say that.
Now, I'm also curious about the impact of bilingualism on identity.
Yeah.
Some people feel like they have different personalities
Right.
or even different values depending on the language they're speaking. Is there any truth to that?
That's a fascinating question, and one that researchers are still exploring, but anecdotal evidence suggests that language can influence our sense of self.
I can relate to that. I feel more confident and outgoing when speaking English, even though it's not my native language.
And that's perfectly normal.
Okay.
Our language choices can reflect and even shape our identities in subtle ways.
So someone who grew up speaking one language at home and another at school might feel like they have different selves associated with each language.
It's certainly possible, and those different selves might come with different sets of memories, emotions, and even values.
That's incredible. It really highlights the complex interplay between language, culture, and identity.
It certainly does, and it underscores the importance of embracing and celebrating the diversity of linguistic and cultural experiences that exist in the world.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached a good point to wrap up part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay.
We've explored practical applications of bilingualism, its protective effects on the brain, and even its impact on our emotions and sense of self.
It's been a fascinating journey so far.
It has.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle to explore.
And that's where we'll pick up in part 3.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Hooray!
We've been on quite a journey exploring this amazing world of the bilingual brain.
It really has.
From those like cognitive benefits to those emotional nuances, it's clear that language plays a much bigger role in our lives than we might even realize.
Absolutely. And in this final part, I want to kind of take us in a slightly more philosophical direction.
Okay.
We've touched on this a little bit throughout our conversation, but now I really want to dive deeper into this fundamental question.
Okay.
What is the relationship between language and thought?
Ooh. I love a good philosophical deep dive.
Me too.
We've talked about how bilingual individuals might access different memories or even experience emotions differently depending on the language they're using.
Exactly.
And we even discussed how languages, like math or music, could shape our thinking.
Precisely. All of those observations point to, I think, a deeper truth here.
Okay.
Language isn't just a tool for communication.
Right.
It's fundamentally intertwined with how we experience and understand the world.
So it's not just that we think and then put those thoughts into words.
Right.
Language actually shapes the very thoughts themselves.
Precisely. There's this fascinating concept called linguistic relativity,
Okay.
which suggests that the language we speak influences how we perceive and categorize the world around us.
So someone who speaks a language with, like, different color terms might actually see colors differently than someone who speaks English.
That's one example. Or someone who speaks a language with a grammatical gender system might perceive inanimate objects as having masculine or feminine qualities.
That's mind-blowing. It's like each language creates a slightly different reality for the speaker.
In a way, it does. Of course, it's not that we're literally seeing different colors or that objects have genders.
Right.
It's more about how language directs our attention, influences our categorization, and ultimately shapes our interpretation of the world.
So it's like each language provides a unique lens through which we view reality.
That's a perfect analogy, and this is where things get really thought-provoking.
Okay.
If language shapes thought, then what happens when languages disappear?
That's a sobering thought. We talked earlier about how AI could potentially lead to a decline in language diversity, with a few dominant languages becoming even more prevalent.
Right, and if each language offers a unique way of seeing the world,
Yeah.
then the loss of language diversity could mean the loss of valuable perspectives, insights, and ways of knowing.
It's like losing pieces of a puzzle.
Yeah.
Each one containing a crucial part of the bigger picture.
That's a powerful image. It makes you realize that preserving language diversity isn't just about protecting words. It's about protecting different ways of understanding the world, different ways of being human.
Exactly. Each language is a treasure trove of cultural knowledge, wisdom, and those unique ways of experiencing the world. It's something to be cherished and protected.
Absolutely.
It makes you wonder what amazing insights and perspectives might we be missing out on if language diversity continues to decline.
It's a question worth pondering, and it brings us back to the heart of this deep dive, the power of language. Language isn't just a tool for communication. It's a fundamental part of what makes us human. It shapes our thoughts, our emotions, our relationships, and even our very sense of self.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the key message we want our listeners to take away?
I think we've uncovered the incredible potential of the human brain, especially its capacity for language. We've seen how bilingualism offers a range of benefits, from cognitive enhancements to social and emotional intelligence. But we've also been challenged to think critically about the role of language in shaping our understanding of the world and the potential consequences of losing that diversity.
Yeah, it's a lot to process, but ultimately I think it's an empowering message.
I agree.
By understanding the power of language, we can make more conscious choices about how we use it, how we learn it, and how we protect this incredible diversity of languages that exists in the world.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the bilingual brain. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery.
It's been fun.
We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have, and as always, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the boundaries of your own understanding. Until next time.